Welcome, guys, for another episode of Kansuarian. Currently, I'm in the hospital because my subject today is about shift report. So we are back, and shift report is actually when a nurse that's taking care of you is going home, and you're gonna have another nurse is gonna take over the shift, and they're gonna do a report before they go. So that's a shift change report, and I'm gonna tell you what's the best shift change report that a nurse can do for you. Okay, we're gonna start with number one. Right away, they need to do a hand washing or hand sanitizing. It's very important because infection control, you know. And before you do anything, I just wanna inculcate in my mind that hand washing is very important, and at the same time, the hand sanitizing is important too. You know, nurses are going inside the room and then they go to another room, so you don't want to get something from the other patients that's also hospitalized in the hospital, right? So a good hand washing and hand sanitizing is the best before you start anything, right? And then they have to knock on the door, of course, to be proper and to be decent and to respect your privacy. They have to knock on the door, right? So that's the proper way of going inside. Whether if it's not a patient's room, you go to another room, or even going to the bathroom, right? You always knock on the door. So that's very proper. So not a lot of explanation on that because it's very understandable, right? So when they go inside, you know that your nurse is going home and you know them already. But then the nurse that's handling you should introduce the new nurse that's gonna take over, right? Or even the new nurse can introduce themselves, to get that rapport going. You don't want to trust your body, your life on that nurse if you don't know them, right? So introduction is very important, and you actually know the nurse if it's if that nurse is very caring, because when they introduce themselves, you can only know about it by the sound of their voice, right? So yep, eye contact is a good one, and then get that explanation going that you're doing a report and you're gonna be the new nurse that's gonna be taking over later on. When you're done with your report, you're gonna come back and discuss all the cares that is planned for this shift. So yeah, good introduction is a good start to get that care going. And as a nurse, you have to include the patient too when you're doing the report. So you're gonna start with the beginning, from the start of the problem, the issues, the complaint of the patient, and what the patient did, what happened, why he is sent here in the hospital, what's the laboratory that was done, imaging that was done, and then in relation to all of this coincide with a diagnosis. There's a lot of nurses that's kind of like reporting like all over the place. They start with the home they start with the home situation, they go to the lab and back to the home situation again. So you don't want to confuse the patient, and you don't want to confuse the incoming nurse. You have to organize your story. You have to be very professional, and the important thing is that you have to make sure that the report is clear and understandable and complete, especially the blood sugar check, or if there's a bladder scan that is needed, and what's the frequency, if they have a tele, what's the reading, what's the number, what are the issues that had happened during the previous shift. So all this stuff. When you say heart, then there's gonna be like what's the rhythm, or if you're gonna say the diet, what's the appetite. It has to have like a related information when you mention something. And during the report, you can actually start the assessment too. Like if you see the IV, where is it located? Do they have a Foley? Do they have a rectal tube? All that stuff. You can actually start it right away. But the important is that you have to come back and do a real assessment. But it's the start of the shift, and then whatever is visible there, you can actually see it right away. And if there's something wrong with it too, you can actually do something about it while doing the report, right? It's gonna be a good tip for the new nurses. So when you're done with explaining with a story, you can actually ask the patient if they have some questions that they have in mind, and then as mentioned before, they are included in the report, right? So they are part of the conversation, so they can actually join the discussion, and they can actually add more information too. All the information that is written in the computer, they can add more during the report. And then before you go, you can ask the patient, is there anything that you can help them? Do you need any assistance? Is there any pain issues that you want to address before we go outside and go to another room? That's part of the ending of the shift change report too. Yep, you have to make sure that all is addressed before you leave the patient. And the last part is that make sure that when you leave the patient, you have to make sure that the room is clean, nothing is on the floor. You can pick up some of the trash too, before you go. And then of course, you leave the room clean. That's the start of your shift, and you're making a difference already by maintaining the cleanliness of the room. And when you're done asking the patient, then that's the time you can actually update the whiteboard. There's actually a whiteboard in most of the hospitals here where you can see your nurse's name, your tech's name, your diet. Are you a blood sugar check? What's the last result that you had before? So update the board so that the patient is aware who's taking care of them. Okay, so there you go. Not a long story really, but just to give you an idea, that's a good practice of being a professional nurse. A nurse is already professional, but how to do your care will reflect how you are too as a nurse. So there you go. That's gonna be it for now. Hopefully you like the video. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.